Hi guys, this is Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Welcome back to my channel. I am just so glad that you're hanging out with me today. Today I'm going to be working on a new design team project for TaylormadeCards4U, and just from looking at this, you can probably tell it's going to be super cute. I am going to be using the Christmas Cookies and Coffee collection. This is a digital kit over on TaylormadeCards4U's website. It's got a ton of different things that you can make with your to create Christmas cards or tags with, and I am going to have a lot of fun with this. Let me go ahead and show you what's actually in that collection real quick. So this is the Christmas Cookies and Coffee collection over on TaylormadeCards4U. We've got those cute tags that I just had on my screen. Got some recipe cards, including one that you can fill in yourself. We've got a couple of pages from a recipe book, a bunch of Christmas cookies and cute sentiments. My video today is part of the holidays in July hop with TaylormadeCards4U, and I encourage you to check out all of the other rafters in the hop because they'll have a lot of inspirational projects for you to see. You'll also want to check out Monica's challenge blog over at TaylormadeCards4U.blogspot.com. There's a link down below. There is a challenge over there, and this month's prize is a $10 gift code from TaylormadeCards4U. You'll also find a discount code over there for 20% off of your digital order from TaylormadeCards4U. So let's go ahead and get started on this. First thing that I did is I printed everything out, and of course, as usual, I forgot to turn on my microphone when I got started. So I've got a couple of pages that I had all of those cookies. I decided to use a circle die or a punch to cut all of these guys out, mostly because I wanted this, and then I realized, oh my god, the rest would fit too. So I've got a ton of these little circle embellishments that I just cut out with a 2-inch circle die. You could also use a 2-inch circle punch and it would work perfectly. So if you don't have the dies, that works perfect. There are some other pieces that I need to go ahead and fussy cut out. For instance, this little tree, and I'm going to take my paper trimmer to trim out all of my cute images for these tags. Then I've also printed out, yes, I printed out too much stuff, some of the other pages. This is one of the backgrounds. She's actually got the same type of background but different colors, so that is super cool, and it does look it actually looks kind of like Rusty Hinge to me, and that might be the color that she based that one on. Not 100% sure. So I've got one that is the full size of what that image is, and then I resized it down so each of these is a little bit it's right at A2 size. Then I also did some of the pages that are these are the recipe book pages. So I've got 2 of each of those. And of course, I also did some of the recipe cards. I think those will be some cool things to put on the front of a couple of cards. So what I'm going to finish up now is just cutting down all of these bits, and then we'll see how I'm going to put this together. Okay, so I have decided on using the larger of the pattern paper and doing a slimline card. So I went ahead and put together a slimline card base. This is basically a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock that I cut at around 7 inches. So it's 3.5 inches tall by 8.5. And my pattern paper, I trimmed it down just a touch to get the white off, and it comes just in, so that is perfect. So that means I need to cut it to right at 3.25. So 3.5 is how tall my card is, so I'll cut it down to 3.25, and that should leave about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And since this looks like Rusty Hinge, I'm going to go ahead and finish distressing this with some Rusty Hinge. And before I do anything though, I'm going to make sure that this works. And what I'm going to do is take the scrap and use this on the back to make sure the color comes about what I'm wanting. And then do a quick comparison. And I'd say that that is pretty close. So I'm going to actually go all the way around to make sure that it does a good job. That way I've got my distressing all the way around, kind of that baked cookie look, you know? And of course on this edge that is the edge that I cut, I'm going to do a little bit heavier of the color. So I've got a little bit of the color on there. That is looking pretty good. And I'm going to also add a little bit more on the edges with the ink pad. And that's going to make a little bit more of the imperfections around the edges, make it look kind of cool. Okay. Now I did cut out some of these bursts around it, so I could put it on here like that. Not 100% sure, so let me go ahead first, and I'm gonna put this onto my card base, and then I can start layering my little guys up. And to make it a little easier to make sure that everything gets positioned right, I'm leaving the release paper on half of my background and using that part to line it up on the edges. And just pull off the release paper and press it the rest of the way down. And since I covered the entire back with the foam, it's nice and flat, doesn't have any kind of saggy middles. Okay, and I'm going to pop these guys up too. So let's start with, actually the ones in the back I'm going to leave flat, and then I'll pop the ones that I put in the front up on top of them. So I'm doing that with the bell and the star snowflake. Wanted to move this one a little bit, so I just moved it down. Okay, I'll have him, these guys here, and then I can have my Christmas cookies for Santa, and I do want to use one of those green bursts in the background. I think that'll look pretty cool. And it'll pull the little bit of green that's already in the card. It'll pull that in too. It looks like I got a little bit of my foam over the edge, so cut that off. And this one's going to have kind of a double layer of foam. I'm going to pop this up on top of my burst and then pop the whole thing up. Luckily, this foam tape is really thin, so it's not going to add too much dimension, and this should still be able to go out in a regular business envelope. And I think I'm going to add this little tree that didn't get to go into a circle. I'll add that on the inside. And that fits fine in a regular business envelope. Awesome. While I've got all this stuff out, I decided I'm going to make another card. This time I'm going to make a shaker card, and I'm going to use a piece of stamp packaging as my shaker pocket. I'm going to do one of those full front ones. I need to cut this apart. This is actually enough to be able to make at least 2 cards out of. So let me go ahead and trim off the excess bits. Okay, so now I have 2 pieces. And then I can adhere them onto my card front using some double-sided tape. Okay, so I'm going to use some Scrapbook.com double-sided tape, and to start off with, I'm going to take this part that is folded over and adhere that to my card. Put my card right into the crease and then adhere it. Okay, so that looks good. So that's a starting point. It looks like that's going to be the top. Okay, and now I'm going to add some more of this adhesive on the inside. This is on the inside of the back. And I'm adding a couple of pieces on the plastic itself up near the top. That is going to be the final part that's going to close this. And I'm not 100% sure if my trimming at the top was correct or if I'm going to need to change something. This one I'm going to put down a little bit looser because I think I did the other side a little bit too tight to really get much in there. Okay. Next, I'm going to add some little shaker bits. Now, this is just some stuff I've got from my stash. Little snowflakes and then some other confetti bits. And I think most of this came from probably Dollar Tree. Oops. Okay. That's okay. I'll go ahead and put all of that in. And then some snowflakes. I very rarely use my Christmas confetti. I think that needs a little bit more color, so I'm going to add a little. Okay, I'll dump in more than I probably need. I think that's going to be pretty cute. And so far it's holding well down at the bottom, so that is a major plus. Awesome. Okay. So now I'll go ahead and seal that up. Okay, now I can trim this bit of extra off. Okay. But all of those pieces should be pretty much sealed. So I'm going to put some more double-sided tape on the back of this so that it will adhere down to my card base. And just line that up with the edge of my card. And then I'm going to trim off that little bit up at the top, making sure I don't cut into the plastic. Okay, I am going to attempt to make a bow out of a piece of twine. Because I don't do this very often, I may not do it correctly. But you know what? It is what it is. And it looks like it actually worked. Yay! So I will attach that to the top of my little tag and attach that to the front of my card. I think that's going to be cute. I'm also going to be using some foam tape just like I did on my last card. It's also going to make sure everything stays in place on top of that plastic. Okay. So let me go ahead and add my little tag, and then I can add my little bow. Yes, I think that is going to be perfect. These are regular glue dots. That'll be perfect, I think. And I'm going to kind of ball it up a little bit. Well, more than a little bit. For one thing, so it doesn't show really that much behind the bow, and also it'll have more of this gummy adhesive to hold the bow in place. Okay, so that's going to work fine. Then just trim off the excess from my bow. And then I can add my additional sentiment. And this time I'm going to glue this piece down onto the burst and then put the whole thing down with some foam tape so it's not quite as thick, since we do have that shaker pouch. And that finishes up this shaker card. I know, I should be done, but I had another idea. Anyway, I'm gonna trim down this other piece. This one is still a piece of that larger pattern paper, so I'm gonna trim that down, cut it down to about 5.5 by 4.25, and then I can trim it down a little bit more if I need to. And for this one, and again, once I get done, I will, once I get finished with figuring out the sizing, I will be grunging that up a little bit. This time I want to use some of this. It's lovely. The cookbook page and the sugar cookie recipes. I think that'll be kind of fun. I think I am going to have to trim everything down a little bit though. So let's add a couple of these cookies I still had left. And then I can put this kind of up there. I think that will work. Okay, so I'm going to just trim this down just a touch more. I do have this little sliver of white still on that side that I thought I got rid of, so let me get rid of that. And then I'll cut the rest of this down to 4 by 5.25. And then I can grunge up the edges of this one again with Rusty Hinge. And I am going to grunge up these a little bit too. This one's going to have lots of Rusty Hinge used on, I think. Okay, and then dirty up this a little bit more too. Now the cookbook page is going to probably be trimmed down a bit more, and I think I may actually rip it. I never ever rip. Okay, let's rip the top of the page. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grunge up those bits too. That'll be kind of interesting. I never do this, guys. I don't know that any of this down here is going to be seen, but you know. Okay, put that up there. And for this, I am going to tatter up the edges on that too. I've got a distressing tool, so I'm going to use some of that. I'm channeling my inner Monica. Yes. And letting myself do a bit more of distressing and grunge. Which just means that you can use these Digis in lots of different ways. And I also never do that, but I did it anyway. Okay, so now that I've got all the edges distressed and I've got all the wrinkles in there, I'm going to redo some of the ink and go a little crazy with it. Okay. Oh, that looks kind of cool, which means I got to do it with that edge of that book too. This is giving a bunch of texture to the background. Now, if you're like me, when it comes to baking, at least when I used to use a book, I made sure that I got everything. I wanted to keep everything as clean as possible because you don't want to mess anything up. So my cookbooks and recipe cards would not look like this. But I think this is going to be kind of cool. Okay. Now I'm going to start gluing things down. Trying to let it leave some of the raised edges. And I am going to do this one as I ate Santa's cookies, and this part I'm going to leave stark white. That I think is going to be cool. Okay, these guys need a little foam, and I'm undecided as to whether or not I'm going to put 2 or 3 of them on there. And I am going to go ahead and put some foam on the back of them because I will use them regardless, whether it's on this card or another one. Let's go ahead and just add these down. I may have to add some more foam onto one of them to get it to kind of rise up over the first one, but that's okay. Okay, and then I'm going to put I ate Santa's cookies down over here. I think that'll look good. Actually, this one needs to be grunge too. I just can't do it. It is going to have that little pop of green because I'm going to put it up on that kind of medallion thing, but there we go. And I have now decided I need to remove the foam tape off this one because I'm going to use it after all. But I want it flat. And it's going to be kind of tucked behind, so I need to cut it in half. Actually, I've got to cut more off. That'll work. Okay, I'm going to tuck it kind of behind the recipe card. Because I didn't really like that white spot up there, but I also didn't want to add too much more of the ink. Okay. And that one I think I'm going to put flat. So next I need a card base. And because there is really no white left on this card, I think I need to grunge up the edges of this too. Just a little bit. And I am cleaning this off to try to not transfer any more of that ink onto anything where I don't want it. And I think the edges worked out really nice. It's kind of the same color as the rest here. It's not white, so that worked out well. And then I'm also going to just do some liquid adhesive for this. That is looking kind of cool. Okay, I have to say I'm done now. I have to stop. I could keep going. This is a really fun set, and I've still got some other ideas. But for now, I am going to stop and let you guys get moving on to the next video in the hop. So this is going to finish up my hop video for the TaylorMade Cards for You Holidays in July hop. Be sure to check out all the other crafters in this hop because be sure to check out all the rest of the hop because I know there's going to be a lot of inspirational projects for you to see. Check out this playlist here for some more videos where I'm using TaylorMade Cards for You products, and you guys have a wonderful day. Remember, if I can make it, you can too. See you next time.